Hello guys, I'm Andrew from Seoul Law Group and we are an English-speaking law firm based in Seoul. Today's video we'll be talking about domestic violence in Korea. Domestic violence is a pretty common crime in South Korea, as statistics show that 1 out of 6 couples in Korea had some sort of episode of physical violence from their spouse. In this video we'll give you a brief overview of domestic violence in Korea, what to do if you are a domestic violence victim, how to hire a divorce lawyer or a domestic violence defense lawyer, and much more. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence, also known as intimate partner violence, occurs when a person intentionally harms their romantic partner. Hitting or physical violence is known as being the most common form of domestic violence, but it can also include non-physical abuse such as control, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and intimidation, isolation, verbal abuse, using male privilege, and economic abuse. All these types of abuse hurt the victims' bodies and minds. Domestic violence in Korea. In South Korean culture, domestic violence is very often regarded as a private family issue, and incidents are frequently left unreported. Statistics say that 50% of cases are not reported to the police, as the victims see it as a family matter. In 2020, the police charged 9,858 people for domestic violence, and of all those cases, 9,682 victims were women. A study conducted in 2015 by Korean Institute of Criminology randomly sampled 4,000 Koreans about domestic violence incidents. 71.7% of women reported that there had been incidents of being controlled by a male partner. 36.6% felt psychological or emotional violence. 22.4% felt physical violence. 37.9% felt sexual harassment or misdemeanor. 17.5% felt sexual violence, and 8.7% felt physical injury. Korean domestic violence laws. In the old days, domestic violence used to be covered and punished by Ordinary Criminal Act of Korea. But it didn't really help stopping domestic violence, so the need to create a new law specialized only for domestic violence emerged. In 1998, 2 domestic violence laws were introduced, namely the Act on Special Cases Concerning the Punishment of Crimes of Domestic Violence, which is called Act on Punishment of Domestic Violence in short, and the Act on the Prevention of Domestic Violence and Protection of Victims, which is called Act on Prevention of Domestic Violence in short. The first one is for the punishment of crimes of domestic violence, and the latter one serves as a preventative law against crimes of domestic violence and to protect victims of domestic violence. What to do if you're a victim of domestic violence in South Korea? If you are a victim of domestic violence, there are a couple of things you can do. We'll go over them one by one. Contact a helpline. The first step you can take and should take in emergencies is to contact an emergency hotline. They can offer you protection, counseling, reporting to the police, transferring victims to the hospital or a shelter. In 16 cities around Korea, the government established emergency women's crisis hotlines. The centers operate 24/7 and counseling is available in 8 different languages. These emergency hotline centers help 160,000 women a year with counseling, protection, urgent services for domestic violence, sexual violence, and forced prostitution. Filing a police report. When the Korean police receive a report from a victim or a hotline center regarding domestic violence, they will act based on Article 5 of Act on Punishment of Domestic Violence and Article 9-4 of Act on Prevention of Domestic Violence. If domestic violence is likely to be repeated, the prosecutor or police in charge can request ad hoc measures to the court. Requesting ad hoc to the court can take a long time. Therefore, in case the police officer in charge of the report finds it necessary to request urgent ad hoc measures, they can immediately apply for urgent ad hoc measures to the prosecutor. They will file the request and process it within 48 hours. Ad hoc measures are only temporary and cannot exceed more than a couple of months depending on the severity of the measures. Get legal aid. Once you have contacted the hotline and filed a police report, you can get legal aid if you want to take things further. There are several routes you can take, including filing for home protection, divorce, or filing for a criminal case. It is highly recommended to hire a lawyer to help you with your case. Aaron Hwang from Seoul Law Group is an experienced criminal and divorce lawyer who can help you get the best outcome of the case for you and your visa. Home protection case. If you are the victim of domestic violence, but you don't want the perpetrator to be punished, you could request your case to be handled as a home protection case instead of a criminal case. If the crime can be classified as 신고죄 or 반의사 불벌죄, and the victim clearly indicates that they do not want the perpetrator to be punished, the judge will handle the case as a home protection case. Home protection cases are handled by family court instead of the criminal court. The family court doesn't sentence the perpetrator with any punishment, but it can impose a protective order. Divorce. Extreme maltreatment is one of the legal grounds for divorce by trial in Korea. The South Korean Supreme Court interpreted extreme maltreatment as being violence, abuse, or insult, severe enough that continuing the marriage is cruel to the victim. In case you want to get a divorce by trial due to domestic violence, it is highly recommended to hire a Korean divorce lawyer, help you with all the paperwork. It can take several months for the Korean family court to process your case and to issue a divorce decree, and longer if there are other marriage issues to solve, such as property division or child support. Criminal case. In case of severe domestic violence, you can take the case to a criminal court. Together with your lawyer, you will have to prepare your case for the police investigation, and finally, the trial. During the trial, both the victim and defendant will be able to present evidence. It is vital to gather as much evidence as you can, as insufficient evidence is one of the fastest ways to get your domestic violence case dismissed. Domestic violence defense lawyer. When domestic violence charges are brought up against you, instantly contact an experienced criminal defense lawyer. Your lawyer will help you with your case by evaluating the police report and claims, and prepare your defense for the best possible outcome for you and your visa. Well, I hope this video was useful for you. If you have any questions or concerns about domestic violence in Korea, let us know in the comment section below, and you can find us on SeoulLawGroup.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on that notification bell for more Korean law videos, and we hope to see you next time.